What's up, everybody? It's Kyle once again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. This is episode 271. Today, going to be going over some fasting stuff. But allow me to start with the story. So last night we went to LBI. We're celebrating one of my good buddies' 40th birthday party. Surprise party, so it was a good time. A bunch of the guys were there. Five or six of us that just have a good time whenever we get together. So we get to the place before the Sunset Cruise, the restaurant, good restaurant, and sitting outside, and I ate my appetizer, ate my meal. Was still hungry, but whatever, I would have dealt with it. Sundays is my big eating day. Then all of a sudden, I wind up, it's kind of like you're thinking about, hey, wish I could eat a little more. Somebody brings over another, hey, I didn't finish this half a sandwich. You want it? Boom. Okay. Waiter comes out. Hey, we had leftover clams. You want it? Okay. Well, long story short, I wound up eating like 5 dinners. And people just kept giving it to me. My buddy Mikey this person didn't want this. You want it? And I could have kept going, and people were getting a little chuckle out of it. But when you understand appetite and you understand how to set your body up for something like that, I can't do that all the time necessarily. You understand how the body responds to nutrition much better. And if it was about the calories in, calorie out game, I would have put on a couple pounds of fat last night, which I know from doing this every single week is not the case. So you have a problem, and I'm going to review this article my father-in-law gave me. It says intermittent fasting, fad or fact. And I have some notes from this that I want to share with you. You have many, many fake fitness experts, fake nutrition experts out there that cannot stop looking through the lens of calories. That's all they know. That's all. They will plant their flag there and die with that because that's what they were taught in school. It's a very simplistic model. Makes sense on the surface, but it doesn't work. You might say, well, yeah, I cut calories, blah, 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 lost weight. Did you keep it off? I can guarantee you didn't because you're going about it the wrong way. So let's see what they say in this article. I'll address some of this, and I'll just kind of riff on some stuff. So first of all, fasting is not a fad. A fad is when you cut out whole food groups, when you could only eat certain food groups, things of that nature, things that are ridiculous, where you could only eat one type of food. And I often talk about the panda diet in terms of diet because people understand that. Diet's really what are you consuming? But most people, when they think of diet, they think I'm going on a diet, which means they're going to be coming off a diet. There's going to be an off-road, off-ramp portion of it. A diet, if you're going to succeed at changing your mind and body through eating, should not have a definitive starting point and ending point. Should be ongoing. And this goes into the brain science, which very, very few people ever talk about when it comes to eating. There's 1 or 2 people out there I've seen talk about it. Can you form a habit around it? Your body will not form a habit around something that it doesn't find pleasurable. So something that's a fad is typically not pleasurable for you. You're not going to stick with it, no matter how much initial quick weight you drop. Let me also address this. Nowhere in this article does the author talk about, the columnist talk about insulin. If you can't talk about fasting without talking about insulin. Otherwise, you miss the whole point. I'm not saying this lady doesn't know what she's talking about, but she's a reporter. She went at it from the very surface level, like most people do when they're talking about fasting. She goes on to say, I thought this was really good. Some people like these fasting plans because it's easier to be all or nothing than to count calories every day. Correct. Part of the panda is this black or white approach. You have to decide that I'm going to do this. If it's a fasting day, you decide ahead of time. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do my 48 still every week, going on over 2 years now. Starts last night, goes to tomorrow night. I know today I'm not eating. I don't even entertain myself with the thought of maybe I will. It's no question. You got to decide. When you are trying to use portion control and such with diets, and you leave it open-ended, and you got to rely on willpower to eat within a certain range of calories, then you're going to fail, especially when you suppress calories. That's what happens. It says weight loss on these diets is similar to the to straight calorie counting over time. No, it is not. And again, I could tell you, if you look at very short term, you might be able to get similar weight, but I'm looking at long term. Now, I've had over 100 people that have gone through my program, where intimate coaching, where we take them through longer fasting, and then I get to see what they do over the course of the next several months and year. Keep that in mind. It's not the same as calorie count. When you do a deprivation diet, which calorie counting in a North American diet system typically is, you're still using food as your external fuel source, putting in less, metabolism slows down, hunger goes up. Fasting, the exact opposite happens. Metabolism actually goes up, hunger hormones go down over time. So she went on to talk about when they did this study with volunteers, they were extremely hungry and irritable on fasting days. Nobody taught them what to expect. When you're doing a program like this, you need to know expectations. You need to know that that's food entrainment patterns that will fade away. They'll go away. But when you've trained your body to expect food over the years, you'll get hunger signals then. A lot of things can signal hunger signals, but that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing when you know how to frame it in your head and you know what the goal is, what you're actually after. Then they go on to say, what about people with diabetes who need to keep blood glucose levels from going dangerously high or low? Experts generally discourage people with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes who require insulin from following an intermittent fasting plan. That is the exact opposite of what I would recommend. Especially if you, type 1 is a little trickier. If you're a type 2 diabetic, if you follow a strict fasting plan, there is no reason you cannot completely reverse your diabetes and get off all medication. I repeat that. Type 2 diabetes, if you fast, in longer form fasting, you will heal your diabetes, which should be your goal. So I don't know what experts are not recommending it, but it's probably a lot of the experts. Look, just like you have fake fitness experts, fake nutrition experts, you have fake doctor experts. There's a lot of doctors out there that only teach, they only subscribe to what they were taught in school, even though it goes against maybe common sense or common knowledge, or maybe it's wisdom. But you can't ever take advice from somebody that hasn't done what they're lecturing you on if they have not tried it. So you always got to remember that. Now, I have a lot of real world examples from people that have gotten the book and people that have gone through my coaching program and myself. I'm very meticulous with noting how I feel, looking at strength numbers, all this stuff. And I don't really know anybody, maybe again one or two other people out there in the world that's stuck with a longer form fasting program for years on end. So you could say there's no studies, blah, 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 all this type of stuff. But really distinguish when people go on a typical North American diet, the main thing they're trying to do is cut calories, or they're trying to do fasted cardio, okay? Or they're trying to keep carbs low. All in the scope of knowing, so somewhere these were rooted in some factual stuff that you need to keep insulin low to lose fat. You need to keep insulin low to lose fat. There's no other way about it. You cannot lose, I did a video about this last week, you cannot lose fat when insulin's elevated. I don't care what type of deficit you're in. So the mistaken belief too, though, is things like carbs are the only thing that's going to raise insulin. Animal protein raises insulin much more in proportion than good carbs that grew from the ground. So keep that in mind. But you're going about it wrong. You can have your feast like I had last night, like I talked about at the beginning of this. And it's very liberating. When I eat, when it's my time to eat, it's a feast. Every day of the week that I eat is a joy. It's a pleasure. It's not dreading, oh, I don't like this chicken breast and dry broccoli and brown rice. That sounds very fun to eat. And I can make fun of that because I did that for years when I was bodybuilding. It was miserable. I'll leave you with this. There should be 3 joys of food. The joy leading up to the meal, joy during the meal, joy after the meal. It tells you you're in the right frame of mind, in the right part of your nervous system when you ate that meal. The 3 joys of food. And this is what they should be teaching people. But I contend, just like a lot of stuff, fasting, and I'm not talking about a 12-hour fast. That's not really fasting. Fasting, longer form, will probably never become mainstream because if more people adopted this and this was actually taught and talked about on the news like they talk about all this other junk all the time, people would be much, much healthier. If people are healthier, they have stronger minds, right? And they're critical thinkers. You can't just go along with what that you've been told, the food pyramid multiple times a day, cut calories, keep carbs. This keeps people in a like almost a zombified state when they eat like that. And you'll know what I'm talking about if you try longer form fasting for any period of time and then go back to trying to eat that way. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible, right? And it's really pretty drastic once you experience that. Anyhow, that's what I got for you for fasting today. Good to see an article about it, but there's some stuff that's wrong in the article, but it's still good to see it out there. Any attention you can get is good attention. And don't forget to go to kylenewell.com/manual. You can get the updated free fasting manual. I got some mind map principles in there, and I'm going to be making a video about that pretty soon. That's part of your download. But anyhow, spread the word. Hit the thumbs up button. That's the price of admission. Just spread the word about the podcast. Share it with somebody. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.